Budućnost players cemented their place at the very top of ABA League with a 68-54 victory in the derby of the round with Crvena Zvezda in the crowded Morača Hall. Luka Pavicevic's men were in front most of the time and recorded their well-deserved sixth consecutive victory. Already in the first period, the hosts reached a commanding lead, holding on to it until the very end. Montenegrin champions punished their guests' defensive errors with a particularly inspired display on the offense. It was clear from the get-go that the red and whites are not in good offensive form. For the best part of the game, the guests' field goal percentage was around 30. On the other hand, Budućnost scored 3 of their 4 attempts from outside the 6.75 line and had a 70% success rate for 2 points, ending the period with a lead 28-11. Dejan Radonjic's team opened the second quarter notably more aggressive on the offense. This was the only period in which they showed any offensive quality. After a 14-0 run sparked by Guduric and Thompson, they found themselves trailing by only 3 points. However, the hosts dominated the final minutes of the period, stretching their lead back to double digits with an 8-point run for the halftime result 38-29. In a tough and low-scoring third period, former captain of Crvena Zvezda, Tadija Dragicevic, made all the difference, confirming once again he is in great form. Dragicevic scored 2 crucial 3-pointers, keeping his team in a double-digit lead. Budućnost wrapped things up with a great distance shooting at the beginning of the final period. Their maximum lead in the game was plus 18, and the defending champions had to settle for keeping their plus 21 advantage from the match in Belgrade. Aside from Dragicevic, who was by far the most efficient with 20 points and 10 rebounds, Alex Maric also made his mark with a double-double. Crvena Zvezda was visibly worn out after their crucial EuroLeague match, leading to somewhat weaker performances by Cirbes, Miller and Jovic. The highlight in Dejan Radonjic's team was provided by Marko Guduric, who ended the game with 20 points, while teammates scored 7 points less. Following their 4th defeat this season, Crvena Zvezda dropped to 3rd place in the league, with 2 victories less than the leaders from Podgorica. Cedevita strolled their way to a 73-50 win over Sutjeska in Zagreb. Due to a tight schedule, the manager of the Croatian EuroLeague team, Veljko Mršić, decided to distribute the playing time evenly among his players, leaving James White out of the roster. The hosts broke their rivals' resistance with a scoring run in the third period, only stretching the convincing lead until the final buzzer. Mršić gave all of his players a chance, which Miro Bilan used to reach another double-double with 15 points and 13 rebounds. Pullen added 10 points to the total, allowing Cedevita to keep the second place in the standings with their 12th victory this season. Pavlovic's 17 points couldn't help Sutjeska, that remains glued to the bottom of the table following their 11th defeat. The 4th-placed Megalex team made a big step towards playoffs with a win over Partizan 85-78. Dejan Milojevic's team won the game after an unbelievable comeback in Pionir. The home team held an 18-point lead in the 27th minute with a dominant display. The black and white team won the first period 21-18 behind Kevin Jones. Offensive rebounds gave Petar Božic's team a significant lead in the second quarter. Mega couldn't find rhythm on offense, and the home team raced to a 13-point lead at the halftime. Not much changed at the start of the third period. Partizan's lead was increasing up until aforementioned 27th minute. However, by the end of this period, Mega would cut the lead to just 3, forcing turnovers on defense, with an ace card Milenko Veljkovic coming off the bench. Veljkovic had 7 points and 4 offensive rebounds in the moments Mega seemed unstoppable. A run of 13 unanswered points in the finish of the third period was interrupted by Petar Aranitović's 3-pointer at the beginning of the final quarter. However, this was only the beginning. Mega pulled off another run 11-0 this time and kept the lead until the end of the game. Partizan threatened for the last time with a shot from Petar Aranitović, but his younger brother Aleksandar responded with a 3 of his own. He was the most deserving of the win with 15 scored points. Only Danilo Nikolic was more efficient with 19 points, while we should point out the effort of the backcourt. Yaramas scored 13 and Ivanovic 1 point less. Another great performance by Kevin Jones was wasted. 21 points and 15 rebounds was not enough for the win. Wilson ended the game with 13 points, while Petar Aranitović and Marinkovic scored 11 each, but the team captain was good on only one of his 9 3-point attempts. After their 9th defeat this season, Partizan has 4 victories less than the 4th-placed team from Sremska Mitrovica. Krka recorded a crucial victory against Zadar in Krešimir Ćosić Hall 74-67 in a remarkably inefficient game with many mistakes on both ends and a poor field goal percentage. Ivan Velic's men fared slightly better and bagged their 7th triumph this season. Zadar, on the other hand, broke the string of 3 victories in front of their home crowd and are now leveled with Krka on the league table with 7 wins. The team from Novo Mesto owes their victory mainly to Sinovec, who scored 17 points, and former Zadar team captain Ivanov, who chipped in with 16, while the top scorer for the losing team was once again Delaš with 20 points. After a tough overtime FIBA Euro Cup game, Cibona came to Celje, Slovenia, intent on proving that their win against Zadar wasn't a fluke, and that the team is getting stronger under the guidance of their new coach. Their goal wasn't an easy one because Typhoon proved to be a worthy opponent with 5 wins in their last 6 games. Aggressive defense once again proved to be the key to success for Damir Mulomerovic's team. They crushed Typhoon's resistance and triumphed 74-52, thanks to 2 great scoring runs in each half respectively. Just like the last time Cibona's youngest players took all the spotlight. Ante Žižić was absent once again, but this time Ivica Zubac proved to be an adequate replacement, leading the team to an 8-0 run in the first quarter. Thanks to Čebular and Ponjević, who scored 6 points in a row, by the end of the first half, Typhoon reduced the opponent's lead to 5. After the break, the home team continued to play in good form and came as close as 2 points to Cibona, but the team from Zagreb didn't take long to respond. Tougher defense in the paint resulted in 13 unanswered points, with Nebojša Joksimović scoring 9 in a row. Cibona played so well on defense that the home team managed to score only 11 points in the third quarter and 7 points in the fourth. This was Typhoon's worst half in the season, resulting with the lowest score in ABA League and their worst field goal percentage, only 31. Cibona had trouble scoring from long range as well, but they did compensate with offensive rebounds. The most valuable players for the winning team were Ivica Zubac, who scored 16 points, and Jagodić Kuriđa, who finished the game with 12 points and 12 rebounds. The only player who really tried to prevent Typhoon's 8th loss of the season was Sandi Čebular with 17 points. The home team really missed injured Siola Clark. His replacement at point guard position, Domen Bratož, scored 9 points, but was also responsible for 6 out of the team's 16 turnovers. Olimpija defeated Igokea 79-63 in Stožice. Both teams entered the game with a 5-9 score and a series of bad games and bad results. The home team held on to the lead throughout the game. At the middle of the first quarter, they had already held a double-digit lead, 16-6. Led by Sava Lešić, Olimpija reached a 19-point lead during the second quarter, 39-20. Not even after the break did Igokea pose a real threat, and they couldn't reduce their opponent's advantage to less than 10 points. At the end of the game, Olimpija compensated for the 9-point defeat in Laktaši, and should the teams prove to be neck and neck at the end of the season, they will take the better spot in the standings. Lešić was game's MVP with 21 points and 8 rebounds. Miha Lapornik finished the game with 11 points. Top scorer for the losing side was Miloš Komatina with 14 points and 6 rebounds. Chris Booker scored 11 points and had 7 rebounds in his return to the ABA League. This was Igokea's 7th defeat in the last 8 games, and the management decided a coaching change was needed. Instead of Željko Lukajić, the team will now be coached by Dragan Bajić, who led Igokea to the first place in the regular part of the ABA League season 2012-2013. With the guidance of their new coach Aleksandar Jončevski, the players of MZT recorded their second consecutive win after overpowering Metalac in Valjevo 77-68. The game was marked by a low field goal percentage for the home team that mostly didn't exceed 30%. The visiting team wasn't exactly in the shooting mood either, especially when it comes to 3-pointers, but they did come up with some easy points on fast breaks. When the game started, there was no indication that there would be a lot of missed jumpers, since the players from both teams were on target when it comes to 3-pointers. Offensive rebounds gave Metalac the lead in the first period, but MZT took the game over with a series of 3-pointers. In the second quarter, coach Jončevski's team established control on the boards thanks to the tall Uroš Luković, and the only thing that stopped them from resolving the match at that point were their own mistakes in the set offense. Later on, nothing much changed. Metalac's players kept missing most of their shots and the boys from Skopje kept their 10-point lead. There was a bit of excitement in the final minutes when the hosts got within 6 thanks to a series of 3-point jumpers. However, Vladimir Jokic's team missed an opportunity to get even with MZT for the defeat in Skopje earlier in the season. The team from the capital of Macedonia is back in the race for the playoff spot after their second consecutive win. Marko Lukovic and Đorđe Drenovac led the scoring list with 15 points each, while Damjan Stojanovski scored one less, going perfect 9 for 9 from the free throw line. Malešević and Kutasic scored 13 points for Metalac in the team's 10th defeat.